I think we're going to get started. And I'm Liz Bement, president of the Upper Fells Point Improvement Association. Welcome to the May membership meeting. We have Brian Seal. Say hello, Brian. He's the vice president.
Hey, guys.
John Beecher John, are you on?
I am. It's Becker.
He's the secretary. Joe Whitford, our parliamentarian. Say hello, Joe.
Hello. I am on. I hope you can see me.
And Pascal Patton. Are you here, Pascal?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So if for everyone that is joining us by phone, or if you're joining with a screen name, if you can please type your name into the chat function, which you can see on the bottom of the screen. It's a little like bubble. You can click on that, type everybody into the chat, type your full name, so that Joe, the parliamentarian, can take the role of who is attending. Are there any new people here that have not previously attended an Upper Fells Point Improvement Association meeting? Okay. We have a full meeting today. We have 2 speakers. We have a lot of updates from our different committees. And we have some new business at the end, so we're going to get started. And our speaker is going to be Mark Gaither. He's with, can you hear me?
Yes.
Joe.
Okay. He's with Wolf Street Academy, and he's going to give us an update about how the school's handling the distance learning and some of the questions and the goals that they are having for next year. So I'm going to call Mark to start speaking.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I have to say it's wonderful to see faces of folks that I haven't seen in about 2 months. Hey, everybody. But I'm sitting here on in my bedroom, actually. Been here for the past 2 months trying to principal a school. But I just wanted to take a moment and thank you for allowing me to come on, just to give an update of what's happening with the school and some of our thinking as it is at this state in terms of over the next few months. So it was March 13th that we closed the building, and I guess about a week ago, we got word that would continue through the end of the school year, which right now is set for June 22nd. At Wolf, we've had pretty good success connecting with our families. We're at about 75 or 80% of our kids connected. The past couple of months have been kind of a series of, sometimes it feels, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then a shuffle to the side, because we're really kind of discovering what all of this means for us and our kids. We went into it thinking that actual devices, having devices was going to be the key problem. Quickly to discover that it was connectivity to the internet. But we've been working with a number of folks to overcome those, or at least challenge those barriers. And we've gotten a good number of kids connected. We also, at the same time, while we've been doing all of the distance learning, we've been serving meals and groceries to our families through a couple of partnerships with the Family League, through the Julie Community Center, through our community school folks. We've distributed over 5,000 pounds of food to our families. We serve about 90 families with groceries every other week. And just recently, partially because of the largesse of Upper Fells Point, have started our first COVID-19 family support process where families can apply for support to a committee at the school, and as part of the Baltimore Curriculum Project, our charter operator, to receive limited support in other areas besides food. Whether it might be some type of bill or other health need that they need support with. And so that's been really important with our families. We have had some reports of some of our folks falling ill, but being well taken care of. And we're working both on the sort of social emotional aspect of remaining connected with our families, in addition to the more tangible services of food and distance learning. Coming up into the kind of new year, we are starting to try to, frankly, figure out the questions that we need to ask in order to still provide the very best in education for our kids and our community. We are working with the Baltimore Curriculum Project to sort of think of what those questions are, how to manage safely but effectively, providing our kids with access to quality learning, while also maintaining the supports for the social emotional and the basic needs. We don't have a lot of answers at this point. We don't have a lot of answers about what we'll be allowed to do versus encouraged to do versus required to do. And so we're at the point now of asking questions such as, if we are supposed to socially distance at the school, what are our options? How can we do that within the realities of the building, of our population, of our teaching staff, all of those kinds of things. So it has been very difficult. It's shown us weaknesses, particularly in the digital area. This turned on a large floodlight on the breadth of the digital divide for us, and how far we are from really having adequate ability to provide. That has put the entire curriculum project and all of the 5 schools in the curriculum project sort of on the course for asking the questions of how we get to a 1-for-1 ratio of device to child. It's also started us along the route to troubleshooting the connectivity issue, and in sort of collaboration with talking with the district folks and the city folks about what other options are out there. I know there's some pilot things going on about broadcasting school building Wi-Fi further afield so that families in the neighborhood could gain access. But it is a great deal of brainstorming at this point to try to come up with solutions. And I welcome any of your all's expertise, or not even expertise, if you just had a thought or an idea or a question that would help us guide ourselves along the way. This has certainly been an all hands on deck time for us, and great ideas come from all quarters. That being said, we are, actively enrolling kids for next year. We are, some of the things we're looking at in regards to next year is training and professional development for our teachers in regards to distance learning. We have for all intents and purposes, and our intentions are to be fully open and ready to go in whatever that means, whether it's 50% present in the building and 50% at home, whatever it may be. So we are actively enrolling neighborhood kids. So if you know anybody who's out there thinking, I wonder what I should do, if they live in our zone, send them over. Well, send them my email. I was going to say send them over to the building. Can't do that, but send them my contact information, and I'd be happy to answer any questions I can. And we're going to continue to push information through our Facebook account. I invite anybody who hasn't already to go ahead and like us on Facebook if you do it, or check out our webpage. We are trying to push out all the information we can through there. But it certainly has been interesting times, as it has for everybody these past couple of months. So I'd be happy to take any questions, or if you wanted to hear about any specific areas, I'd be happy to see if I can provide information.
So I have everyone on mute, and so if you'd like to ask him a question, please unmute. There's also a hand gesture, but I don't know where that is, where you could raise your hand. Do you know, Brian?
Hi. This is Brooke. Can I say one quick thing?
Yes.
I just wanted to thank Principal Gaither and give a shout out to his community school coordinator, Leah Beachley, who's doing really phenomenal work on food access. I coordinate a call every Monday with about 25 or 30 organizations in Southeast on food access, and Leah, consistently has like really amazing things that she's doing to report on. So I just wanted to give a big shout out to her and to all of you who are helping her by dropping off food. So thank you.
And I'd love to extend that shout out. I mean, the number of people who are part of the Wolf Street community who have stepped up and stepped out and sought out ways to help and support our families and kids has just been monumental. We've had two U.S. senators, U.S. congressmen sending well wishes to our community. We have a former Deputy Secretary of State who is going to be sending us one. And every moment that somebody from outside the immediate walls just acknowledges or wishes us well, it's a boon to every kid, every family, and every teacher who is sitting in their own space, hoping that all of this is working in some way. So thank you to all those folks.
So, Mark, this is Suzanne Bailey. Good to see you in your Wolf Street t-shirt hidden.
Yep, right there.
So, as far as access, is there a needs assessment that's been done with families to see what the needs are for each child, whether it's internet access, a device, being something other than a phone, and how is that looking?
So we have about 80% of our families who have some type of device. The vast majority of that is a cell phone that they use to connect to Google Classroom and other resources. There is a smaller amount of tablets and a few laptops or desktops. But the vast majority are cell phones that are largely connecting up through data, not through Wi-Fi. We really didn't have great success with the sort of local hotspots and such to be able to connect up to Wi-Fi, and that's why we're kind of pursuing other things. The other big family need that we have focused on as a whole school is food scarcity. And the leadership team at Wolf, including Leah, as one of the point persons because she lives right there on South Chapel, have compiled a list that's kind of identified the most critical 15% of families that, as we get devices on loan from somebody, or as we identify a device that would be available for a family, we try to push them out to those folks. So it's a kind of ongoing process of identifying the need, but we've got both the technology and the food issues kind of prioritized at the school. And anybody who might be interested in connecting up, in helping in some way, you can send an email to me or to Leah. I mean, my email is online. I know a bunch of people on this call probably have Leah's contact information, but you can easily email me from the Wolf Street website, wolfstreetacademy.org, and I could channel you and your energy and generosity into whichever direction it would serve.
Okay, so I think we have time for one more quick question. It looks like Barbara Johnson has her hand up, or do you have a question, Barbara? Is there anybody else?
I'm sorry. I don't know why that.
Oh, okay. Does anybody else have a quick question that they would like to ask? Okay, I think then, thank you very much, Mark, for your informative presentation. And we're going to get on to our second speaker. But before we do, I want to remind everybody, if you're not signed on with your full name, please type it into the chat so that Joe Whitford can see, so that he could record everybody on the meeting.
And let me just say again, thank you, everybody. I'm going to go have dinner with my family, who, even though we've been in one building for the past 2 months, I have not seen today. So thank you, everybody. And I really appreciate everything, UFPIA. You guys are our longest friend, oldest friend. So thank you. Take care, everybody.
But hey, Mark, just so that you know, we noticed that your one tree did not make it. We're working on getting you another one.
Okay, you're on top of it, Lisa. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
So our next speaker is Taylor Smith Hams, and she's with Blue Water Baltimore, who is our local waterkeeper organization, and she's going to she needs some input for some signage that they're interested in creating along the harbor. So Taylor?
Yeah, thank you so much, Liz. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so if you're not familiar, Blue Water Baltimore is your local waterkeeper organization. So we're one of over 300 waterkeeper groups that patrol and protect more than 2.5 million square miles of rivers, lakes, and coastal waterways on 6 continents. And here in Baltimore, Blue Water Baltimore's mission is to restore the quality of our local rivers, streams, and harbor to foster a healthy environment and healthy communities. So we're here tonight to share some information with you about local water quality and to get your input on how best to educate members of the public about water pollution and public health. So as you may know, there are areas in the harbor around Canton Waterfront Park, the Jones Falls Outlet, that have high bacteria levels regularly due to chronic sewage overflows. And under Maryland state law, these areas are required to have signage to warn people about the dangers of coming into contact with polluted water, but there are currently no signs. So that's why we're here tonight. So as residents who live near the water, you really are the experts on how people interact with the water near you and where the signs would be most effective. And just to be clear, our goal is not to dissuade people from enjoying the water or recreating in the water, but really just to educate people about the risks of coming into contact with polluted water so that they can make informed decisions. And we've been in touch with the Department of Public Works about this issue, and they requested that we come back with a specific list of locations that we want to see signs. And this is why we want to hear your input and your ideas about where signs would be useful. And before we dive into that discussion, my colleague Barbara, who works on our Waterkeeper team, is going to share a little bit more with you about the current state of our water. So I will pass it off to Barbara.
Sure. Thanks, Taylor. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So I'm a water quality scientist with Blue Water Baltimore. As Taylor said, I manage our water quality monitoring program under the Baltimore Harbor Waterkeeper. And just to give you guys a little bit of background about it, we have 49 stations that we monitor. 27 of them are in the Jones Falls and the Gwens Falls, and we do that monthly, year round. And then we have 22 stations that we monitor in the Inner Harbor, the Middle Branch, and the main stem of the Patapsco, and it goes all the way out to where it meets the bay at Bodkin Creek. So we actually have not been patrolling the waters for the past 9 weeks now. So we actually just launched our boat, and we hope to get back out there on Thursday and take some of our first measurements. But we monitor for basic water quality monitoring parameters, so dissolved oxygen, total nitrogen and phosphorus. We look at bacteria levels. And just patrol the waters in general, just seeing if there's any wildlife in distress or maybe any pollution that's happening, and we report it to the proper municipalities. So like Taylor said, we're not looking to discourage anyone from being on the water. We really want to have the public be informed about the state of our waters and just to be able to make informed decisions about how they come in contact with the water, whether that's kayaking, paddling, fishing, and even, yes, wading in the water, which we've seen people do along the Inner Harbor. So again, we just really want the input of the community to see where you think the signs would be useful. We want to hear if you're against the signs. We want to hear, maybe if you have any kind of input of maybe what the messaging should say or how it should be worded. So we're definitely open to questions about that, and we can leave our emails to if something comes up later that maybe you didn't think of tonight. But I'm more than willing to answer any questions now about our water quality monitoring. I'm sure someone might ask what's going on in the harbor right now. If you're interested, I can tell you. There is a big algae bloom going on right now, and it's combined with something that we call a turnover event, which might be the sulfur kind of smell that you might be experiencing. I'm not sure which way the wind is blowing right now, but we were getting a lot of reports from the Fells Point area about the smell. So if anyone has any questions about that, I can go into detail with that. I won't take up the time if you guys don't want to hear my science rambles.
Does anybody have any questions?
What would cause such a bloom, the algae bloom? Because the smell is very strong.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So an algae bloom really is an excess amount of nutrients in the water, and that can be from anything from sewage overflows or maybe fertilizer getting into the water. Also, sediment getting into the water. A lot of different things can adhere to sediment, and if there's a big rainstorm, it can bring sediment can act as a highway almost for those particles to get into the water. So what happens is algae is plants, so the nutrients feed the plants. They grow, they kind of take over the water column, and then eventually they die and they fall to the bottom of the water column, and they use the oxygen. The bacteria that eats them uses oxygen, and that's what can cause a fish kill, which is something that we're actually pretty concerned about right now because we haven't really had as much rain as we were getting in the past couple of weeks. And when we launched our boat last week, we noticed that the algae bloom was already very excessive. We really couldn't see very far into the water at all. And a lot of turtles were coming up around the downtown sailing center where we dock our boat. But the smell you're smelling is actually from the turnover event. So sometimes when the weather temperature changes pretty drastically, cold water molecules are a lot heavier than just room temperature or warm molecules. So they will float to the top, and that will cause, they go to the bottom and it'll cause the column to flip. And so the sulfur, what you're smelling is the sulfur, and the stuff that's at the bottom of the harbor is coming to the top, and that's what you're smelling. So you're basically smelling the bottom of the harbor. Lucky Baltimore. I don't know if that was a good explanation of that. Does that make sense to everyone?
No, thank you. That does. Thank you.
what we really need is a nice rain to wash it out. Hopefully we'll get that this weekend. The wind is actually helping too. It's carrying out some of the water with the tides as they're going out. So hopefully that'll help some.
Hey, I have a question. I'm not sure if folks can hear me. So I'm just curious if one of the purposes of the signage is to draw attention to the condition of the harbor and the bay. I mean, it seems like it could be potentially useful in that regard as well, and that might, I think, guide some of the thinking around where to place it to some extent.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And we've gotten a lot of the different meetings we've attended. People have said that. I think we're in talks with the aquarium and the science center of just the wordage, just what we would say and how we would say it to have it be an educational tool as well, not just a skull and crossbones, don't touch the water. Have it be kind of an educational tool, state of the bay, state of the harbor kind of information.
Bill Milton, do you have a question?
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you about the quality of the water. Although your last several statements were telling us, I guess, some real concerns about the water right now. I was thinking that maybe 3-4 weeks ago, the water seemed to be cleaner. Maybe that was my imagination, but I'm wondering if the water variability has been like that great in the last 2 months. I'm just wondering if maybe it was actually cleaner when we first stopped all of the, driving the cars and all the other pollution. Maybe if there was less pollution going into the harbor.
Yeah, I think the water was clear. We had so much rain; it really is flushing everything out. Back in March and April. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to monitor, so I don't have any data to look at for the last couple of months since we've been working from home and not being able to monitor. We do have a website called Baltimore Water Watch where we house all of our data. So if you wanted to look just at past dates, that shows all of our stations. It shows all the parameters that we monitor for, when we last visited that station, and what the data said. And it tells all, as well as with where it tells about the parameters, it kind of gives you what that parameter means and how that relates to water quality. But as far as the past couple of months, I'm sorry, I unfortunately don't have any data to really look at to say, but it would make sense. I think a lot of, we've all seen a lot of reports around the world really of the environment, kind of coming back a little because humans have backed off a little bit. So it wouldn't be shocking if we did have better data if we had been out there. That was a great question. Sure.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Do you have any goals or limitations for how many signs you're planning to put up?
Yeah, I think Taylor might be able to weigh in on this too. I think we had come up with around 8 areas that we had thought would be hot spots, and just areas that people were recreating or that we've seen them, even wade in the water, like around the Science Center and the right in the Inner Harbor, where the amphitheater steps go down. We see people fishing a lot in Canton Waterfront Park, and just maybe where the kayaking clubs keep their kayaks, that kind of, anywhere where we really see more people recreating, just to give them a more informed idea of what the state of the water might be.
Yeah, I think it's a combination both of like kind of the high traffic areas where we can reach the most people. And then also just there are some kind of more local hotspots where we know, they might not be popular with the general public, but where we know that regularly these, certain communities gather and want to make sure that, if anyone is swimming or using the water in that way, they're aware. So we do have, we have a list of about 20 spots that we've heard from other places, from other communities, from other organizations like the aquarium. But if anyone has any specific locations in mind where that you either engage, recreate in the water, people do regularly, we want to hear that from you because, like I said at the beginning, you are the experts on how people around you are interacting with the environment.
How about the Hanover Street Bridge?
Yeah, that's definitely on the list where a lot of people fish. I see people fishing there all the time.
Yeah, the Middle Branch has a couple places that we have thought about. The Hanover Street Bridge. There's a little park there. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of it. But
The
around
Middle
Harbor
Branch
Hospital.
Park. Middle Branch Park.
And then by the Harbor Hospital, where there's a boat launch there, where people they do a lot of crabbing there, actually.
And in that area, or around the harbor in general, what languages would the signs be in?
That's a great question. Yeah, so we've definitely heard a lot of input that the signs absolutely need to be bilingual in English and Spanish. And if there's any other language that folks think is important, we ultimately won't have control over the signage, but we can share this input with DPW, who will be in charge of what the signs look like and what their content is. And if we can say, all of these community associations said they need to be bilingual, that's really important for us to communicate.
So, Taylor and Barbara, can you type your contact information into the chat so that people are able then to contact you with if they have ideas or other questions or whatever they'd like to talk about with you? Then
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to take up all your meeting.
Okay. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming on. Very interesting. Thanks.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're going to get right into our committee reports, and so it seems like we have a lot of various reports that people need to talk about. So we're just going to try to keep them as brief as possible. We have Brooke Learman here and Zeke Cohen, who also wants to give us some updates at the end. So we're just going to try to keep things moving along as well as possible. The first one, the treasurer. Pascal, do you have anything to report?
Yeah. So our current balance right now is $12,480. As people can imagine, our expenses they're lower than usual because of fewer activities, but we are going to be paying about $1,000 in the near future for our annual insurance policy, just so people are aware of that. One other thing, a lot of folks have been paying dues, and this is my monthly reminder to, if at all possible, use friends and family on PayPal. I know some folks have been paying it through the website, but if you do it through Stripe, we lose about 9% of the dues to fees. And obviously, I appreciate all the work that the website folks did, but for your dues, for small transactions like this, PayPal with the friends and fee selection is by far, friends and family selection is by far the most efficient way to do it. So that my little spiel every month, please do it that way.
Hey, also the only way you can do it that way is if you charge it to your credit card. I mean, if you don't charge it to your credit card, most people that are paying through PayPal are doing it so they don't have to do the cash flow.
Yes, that's correct. If there's going to be a fee, no matter for you, if you use your credit card, but if you link PayPal to your bank account and do friends and family, then it's a totally free transaction. Nobody loses anything to PayPal fees.
Well, some people don't want to link their bank account is all I was trying to say, but it works either way. We'll take your money no matter.
Okay, it looks like I'm going to just interrupt the committee reports because Brooke Learman is here. She needs to leave at 8, so she was going to give us just a brief couple-minute update, and then she can be on her way, and then we can continue with the committee reports. Brooke?
Sure. Thank you. Sorry. I have 2 more Zoom calls tonight. So thank you for understanding. It's just how it goes these days, but it is really nice to see all of you. So thanks for letting me pop on for a bit. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Brooke Learman, one of your state delegates. I live down the street from you at Ann and Lancaster, and I now go on daily morning walks. So I walk through Upper Fells Point every day. So since session ended for the first time since the Civil War early this year, and we were able to pass a number of really important bills. Unfortunately, many of them were vetoed by the governor, including our entire crime package and violence prevention package and the blueprint for Maryland's future. So we're really, really disappointed and frustrated by some of the decisions that the governor made. I guess that's a little bit of an understatement, but very frustrated. But we're going to keep working. I have since coming home from Annapolis, been really focused at a hyper-local level on food access and been working closely with Councilman Cohen as well. We have a weekly call that I mentioned before every Monday morning with organizations from around Southeast and East Baltimore to go over food access and gaps and needs. Also doing work in Brooklyn and Curtis Bay and Cherry Hill and other District 46 neighborhoods. I was really excited when I reached out to World Central Kitchen about a month ago now that they agreed to come to Baltimore. So we now in Highlandtown have free meals from World Central Kitchen every Friday. And of course, every Saturday they're at Camden Yards distributing 25 meals a car if you come by. So always feel free. You can send people to Camden Yards every Saturday at 11 for food. What else to talk about? We've also been working closely with our small businesses. So I've been working with Fells Point Main Street and the Waterfront Partnership and others on how we can reopen doing outside seating. I'm a big proponent of this. I know some folks might have concerns about taking up a parking space here or there, but it really is the only way that some of our restaurants and businesses are going to survive. And so I feel very strongly about the need to do this. And if you all are interested, BDC and the Mayor's Task Force on Small Businesses is going to come out with some guidelines and ideas in the next 10 days or so from what I hear. So I've been talking with them pretty closely about what they're working on. And I'm excited about that and to see it. And also have been working with many of our immigrant neighbors on basically just getting money into their pockets and on small business access through the LEDC, Latino Economic Development Corporation. So delighted to answer any questions you have. Every Monday I send out an email that has a list of things that are going on, updates from the state, updates from the city. If you're not on my email list, please join. You can just go to brookelearman.com and sign up there to get on. And every Tuesday and Thursday, I do briefings online that are free. Today, we had an awesome briefing about the digital divide in Baltimore. On Thursday, we're having a rare nighttime one. Usually they're during the day, but on Thursday, we're having an event with Giffords, the National Gun Violence Prevention Center, and Marylanders to Prevent Gun Violence, all about gun violence efforts or efforts to prevent gun violence. So every week they're different. And I'm delighted to take ideas and questions as well on future topics, but would be happy to have you join. So just wanted to say hello and let you know what I'm up to and that I'm here if you need anything. And, please stay safe and be healthy and be well and keep in touch. So I'll be brief.
Thank you, Brooke. Hey, I do have one question. Will there be funding available for the outdoor seating for the restaurants?
Yes, so there will be some grant funds made available yes, there will be some grant funds made available that businesses can apply to, and then there will be a certain number of designated neighborhoods that will receive targeted support as well.
Is Upper Fells Point one of those targeted support neighborhoods? Or
they haven't announced them yet.
Okay.
They're going to be mostly places that have Main Street organizations or that have a commercial core of restaurants, but don't quote me on that. I'm not positive, but their goal was to make sure that, not only Fells Point and Federal Hill did this, but that, Pennsylvania Avenue and Hamden and, lots of areas around the city were able to get the resources that they need to put something like this on.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay, well, keep in touch, everybody. I'll throw my email address in the chat box and my website is just brookelearman.com. So keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so let's move along to beautification. Lisa, do you have anything?
Always. I always have something.
Yes.
So just a couple of things. First of all, I just wanted to recognize the people that are in the beautification committee. So Brian McGauley does the community cleanups. Alma Wicken does the tree and tree pits. Allegra is doing the recycling can distribution. Beth and John Fitzgerald are working on sidewalk planters. And Mark Hoffman does the dumpsters. So, and then I am the chair and am spearheading the green team, which is defunct right now because the school's closed. So just a couple of things. We have an inventory. We had an inventory of 20 recycling cans to distribute. And at this point we have 15 accounted for. So there are still 5 that we could distribute. If you see any neighbors who are potentially could use one, that is somebody who's putting their recycling out in plastic bags or in small little containers that get blown all over the place. Let me know. Just email me at beautification@upperfellspoint.org because they would be a prime candidate for a recycling can. They're only $5 and most people are really excited to get them. Brian McGauley, I don't know if do we have a community cleanup scheduled for us next, another Umaganda on the calendar yet?
We don't. I was thinking that we would restart them in June. I didn't want to do it without guidance from the mayor not the mayor, the DPW on when they would do the community pickups. I'm thinking maybe if we're not getting any, I've reached out to Larry Nunley again. I spoke to him again this week and still haven't gotten any updates. So I think if we do go ahead with the one in June, we'll maybe just use Lilo to do the pickup and drop off at the dump. But I'll follow up with folks with more information about that and hopefully a calendar maybe to get us through the end of the year so we have visibility into when we'll be doing them on a monthly basis. And I should also point out that we're doing them on a weekly basis. Really, Alex Kirby from Washington Hill has been done a ton of work to organize folks in Upper Fells and in Washington Hill to do these cleanups on Saturdays from 10 to noon. So those have been happening every week. And please come along and join if you'd like. And as I said earlier, I'll follow up with more information later on when we'll be doing the UFPIA Umagandas.
Thank you. So the other thing is I just wanted to, we have had a couple of residents who have paid out of their own pocket to have Lilo pick up bulk trash that's been dumped on the corners and on the sidewalks, especially on Register Street. And so for 3 or 4 different occasions, we've had residents just pay for him to pick up garbage in our neighborhood. So we're really thankful to them. The other thing that I wanted to say is that our first dumpster was canceled because of the city services being canceled, but the next one is scheduled for June 20th. If that for some reason is delayed as well, then we'll send out a notice. But then we'll have 2 more, one on August 29th and one on October 10th. This Saturday, we're going to be doing the Register Street planters. We're going to do a spruce up. The community garden donated some extra soil that they had as well as some plants. And we're going to be purchasing some plants and mulch. And we will be sprucing up the sidewalk planters from 10 to 12 this Saturday and meeting at Water for Chocolate so we can kind of meet with the group, Alex Kirby's group, and then go off on our different ways. So if you have time, please join us. And the last thing is that we had submitted a letter of intent to do a project, a mosaic, a medallion, kind of a big stepping stone mosaic project for 30 tree pits in the neighborhood. And they've asked us to submit a full grant proposal. So we're really excited about that. And that's due on June 8th. If anybody that's participating who does not currently get emails from me about beautification events would like to get involved, just email me at beautification@upperfellspoint.org and I will gladly put you on the list. And if you have any beautification questions or concerns, you can email me or just send me something on the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Sure.
Next is Community Garden. Jan?
Hi, this is Jan. The garden, we've had 2 work days, beginning of May, and just this last weekend, we've had 4 dump trucks of soil delivered So a lot of work to get them in the new raised bed boxes, but we are now planting, so on our way for this gardening season. We also are going to repair the front block wall sometime soon. Somebody we think had climbed on it and broke it at the top, but not horrendous damage at least. Let's see. We also have some blank note cards for sale that have the flowers from the garden depicted on there, as well as the mural. So if you're interested, let me know. There's also some in the community auction, so you might try that there as well. June is National Pollinator Month, so when you're doing your spring planning, keep that in mind to help out our pollinators. Can I go ahead and jump into the newsletter then, or?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess we have somewhat of a dilemma. This is our second month in doing online newsletter and meeting. Per our meeting and voting policy, we're supposed to deliver a newsletter to everyone's residence, but of course we haven't done that since the pandemic. So I'd like to open it up to discussion about what we want to do with the newsletter going forward. Do we want to try to print it or go electronic? I've had a few route delivery people say they are not going to deliver. Some of our sponsors, of course, have paid for an ad in the newsletter for the year, and they're not getting that. The post office has told us we're not allowed to distribute the newsletters into mailboxes anymore. We can put them through the door slot, but not the mailbox itself. So that has caused a problem with delivering the newsletter and litter. And then posting electronically, not everybody is getting the newsletter, especially the businesses. Printing cost is over $3,000 a year to print it. So there's pluses and minuses with both. We would have to vote next month if we did want to change what we're doing. I think the COVID thing is going to be here for a while, so we're going to have to decide one way or the other which way we want to go with this. Does anybody have any thoughts on what you would like to see happen or not see happen, or whatever you want to say about it?
I mean, I personally would love to see the physical copy deliveries resume. I mean, I could pick up an additional route or two. This is Brian. I cover the 200 block of Ann. I can cover some, maybe some adjacent areas if folks are not able to do it or don't want to do it. I'm just also curious, like, there's no leeway at all from the post office. Like it's really problematic because, since we've stopped doing it in the mailboxes, I've basically been either putting them in people's doors, like to the extent, like if there's a handle where you can kind of shove it in there, or just taping it to the mailbox, and that just doesn't really seem to work. So I'm just curious if there's anything we can do to work with the post office to get them to be a little bit more accommodating.
Federal law that only the post office carriers are allowed to put things in the mailbox. It would be way too expensive for us to pay for postage. It's probably about half of the households have mailboxes, and about half have store slots. And then, of course, the businesses, most of them are usually open when I've delivered any, like on Broadway. But it's a problem. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I tried rubber banding someone there. I've tried sticking them in the door. Some people say they don't want them. It would be hard to deliver knowing that, which house said they wanted it, which didn't want it. I think people tend to read it when it's in their hand as opposed to it's an email, oh, delete, I don't feel like dealing with it. Or, a lot of people are not members, so don't know maybe to look at the website. I don't know.
Well, it seems to me that during the coronavirus thing, we should probably just do it electronically for a while until we feel like it's safer. Maybe we could do just like a quarterly newsletter and then electronically the rest of the year. And have a way of that way, and just in the quarterly paper newsletter, just make a more obvious way for people to sign up for the monthly email blast or the monthly newsletter. I always was a big advocate of the paper newsletters because I wanted to reach everybody, and a lot of people are not connected, as Mark was saying, particularly people in the Latino community. They just don't have access. So maybe if we could just go halfway and put out the paper newsletter 4 times a year, and direct people to get electronic newsletters in between. That's just an idea I'm throwing.
Okay, well, the only thing following up with what you said there, Barb, is that, it sounds fine to me, but we would need just to have a vote to change the policy as it's written today in our guidelines, because our duly called meeting is through the newsletter, and it doesn't make any mention of digital or anything like that. It's a minor thing. It's not in the bylaws anymore. It's just policy.
Oh,
so it can be done, but it just has to be a vote through the membership.
Right.
Okay, that's it.
So it seems like we're going to have to be doing it at least for the next month as well, as far as it being electronic, just because of the social distancing and everything. So how about if we just think about this and possibly put it up for a vote at the next meeting?
Well, what would we be voting on?
Whether to continue with the paper or take it all to electronic.
Or at least to have just in the policy that it can be digital and or paper. Right now it's just paper.
Right. So to change the policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
To allow for
Another option that we might want to consider. I was in one of this like Pocket Park in Butchers Hill, and there was a little box with where they store their community newsletters. I mean, if we were to post those around the neighborhood with paper copies and then do the email on top of it,
right?
Maybe the association could fund those boxes, because they can probably be attached to almost any of the polls, and then instead of delivering them directly to the house, maybe they're visible, and we just put the newsletters in there and let people come and take them. And then if folks aren't taking them, then we can print less over time. But at least that way the paper copies are available. They're not delivered to individual homes, but they're hopefully placed in prominent places throughout the neighborhood where people can actually just grab one for themselves if they'd like.
Good idea.
Yeah, I like that idea too.
Well, I know some of the restaurants had said that they would put them in there, but again, they're all closed now, so that wasn't going to work. But I mean, we could post something at the garden on the wall there or something. I don't know what other locations. One of Lisa's tree pits or something.
I don't know, if the Wolf Street Academy let us affix something to the chain link fence or something. Yeah.
There's probably by BG&E, where the BG&E thing is, they have a chain link fence. We could
Right.
there. I bet we could find one for every block.
Right.
A little one for every block. Maybe
Well,
we get a combination of things. We could have the We could have the boxes and, various blocks. We could have maybe one paper newsletter a year that went out to every household online if you sign up for it.
All right, so for June, then the plan would be to vote to change the policy to digital, to include digital.
Include digital.
And then
May I say something?
you have prominent locations of where someone could pick up a printed one, and we would ask people for their email if they want to get it, or direct them to the website because it's on the website as well. And I think we're posting on Nextdoor and Facebook too, right, Brian?
Facebook.
Yeah, but it's going on.
May I share a comment?
Yes.
Is that to me, Jan? I
Yes.
think one thing that's important is the newsletter is a way to get information out to everybody in the neighborhood, and it's really like the most comprehensive contact. Fortunately, we've not had like a major controversy in the most recent time period, but when there is a controversy or a big issue that's circulating in the neighborhood, the newsletter is a way to really get the most people informed about important issues. I'm thinking about the parking issue that happened at Wolf Street Academy, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when that all got started. I think a lot of people heard what was going on through the newsletter, and I think it's an important communication that we have. So I'm slow on limiting newsletters. That's just my thought.
Okay, so I think we have a lot more agenda items to get through, and I think we should just continue this discussion next month.
Okay.
If that's okay.
That's fine.
We have some stuff to think about here about the newsletter, and then we'll just next month bring it up again and see if we can come to a conclusion.
Okay, so for June though, we're doing the electronic version. And so if you have anything for the June issue, I would need it by June 2nd.
All right. Okay, thanks, Jan. Our next person would be education. Molly, do you have anything? Molly, fine.
Uh-oh.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes.
So just a reminder that drop-off continues at Wolf Street Academy Thursday 12 to 2. There's an emphasis on fresh fruit and vegetables, and also fundraiser. We're also doing note cards. So if you're interested in some note cards, let me know. They're really cute.
Top of your head.
Yeah. Oh, my head. How's this? Oh, well. So the note cards are here. They're really, really cute. The kids made them. What is that background? And also, if you want a sign that says "Thank you, healthcare workers," let me know. I'll drop them off at your house to put up in your window. And that's all I have. Although I don't understand why I have a weird background.
And you really are, you're moving around like a puppet. It's very weird.
No, Molly, also, if anybody wants to make a financial donation to Wolf Street families, they can do so through the Curriculum Project website. And they just have to note that it is for the Wolf Street, that they're making the donation for the Wolf Street Families Fund.
Right. Thank you. And I wanted to say that the cards are really, really cute.
They are.
And I'll be glad to send you pictures of what they looked like. They're drawings that Miss Bavakwa and Karen Hassan chose that the kids submitted, and they're just awfully cute. So that's my pitch for that. Anything else? No. All right, all right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Fundraising.
Hi, this is Tasha with fundraising. So we have 3 events or 3 big fundraising activities, efforts happening this month. They all culminate on May 29th. So mark that evening on your calendars and join us for a big happy hour. The happy hour is free for everyone, and we'll be sharing a link on the website once we have that all set up. We also have a paid event before that, which is a virtual mixology cocktail class. We have 4 hosts to choose from, all of them making really great cocktails. And, you know, it's a great way to connect with your neighbors in this time when it's kind of hard to do that. So I really encourage people to buy a ticket. I just shared a link to our website, which has a link to the ticketing site in the chat. So feel free to buy tickets there. You'll be getting your own personalized kit so that you can make your cocktail, the cocktail that you select, and hang out in small groups with the mixology teacher of your choice. So that's the virtual cocktail mixology class. That is a paid event. We have also a free, free until you find something that you just desperately have to bid on. We have an auction going this month. So there's a lot of really cool stuff there. I highly recommend checking it out. A lot of it is just like perfect for these quarantine days. We have some great puzzles, some art that you can have commissioned. There's an exercise bike on there. There's all sorts of things. Just go check it out. It's very cool. And that will end on May 29th after the happy hour. The happy hour is free. And like I said, the link to the happy hour will be posted on our website shortly. So I think that's all. So 3 events. Let me know if anyone has questions about that. Feel free to put questions in the chat. I'll keep my eye there. Or if anyone has questions now, I can answer them. Oh, and all the funds go towards the general fund for the neighborhood. So that general fund, the money is used to support beautification efforts, a lot of our collaborations with Wolf Street Academy, just anything to keep the neighborhood organization running smoothly and supporting us as a community. That's all.
Brian, do you have your hand up for this? Questions? Brian Seal, no?
No, I didn't have anything.
Actually, sorry, I had something real quick. Is it too late to offer something into the auction, to provide something to be auctioned?
I could probably add it. Yeah, just go ahead and email fundraising@upperfellspoint.org. And if you have a really good quality picture of it, I'll take a look and see if it makes sense to add it, for sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move along to land use. Jeff?
Good evening, everyone. This is Jeff, and as the newsletter mentioned that we would do a brief presentation on Commission Historical and Architectural Preservation tonight. We made a decision that we're going to postpone that and talk about it next month. I'm going to put in the chat in that month we did have I summarized some minutes or some notes from our meeting with Chris Holcomb from the commission, and I just posted to the chat a link to chat if you want to investigate more preparation for next month. But so we were going to postpone the discussion until June. And I will say, I mean, one of the things that people question or wonder about is how long things take. We decide to go chat, and it looks like with Woodbury I believe they began in 2009. after these historic stone houses were demolished or buildings were demolished, they initiated their proceedings, and I think they've got a city council hearing in June 9th. I think the council's hearing the proposed law to designate them. So that's super fast, but that is an indication of how long things can take if the decisions go forward. Not a whole lot else is going on. You know, the liquor board did resume having hearings in May. They did not do any in April. They did not see anything docketed that for our neighborhood for May. And the Board of Municipal Zoning Appeals, there's a law going through the city council that addresses they have in the charter, they're supposed to have physically present meetings. So there's a city council bill going through, made it to third reader yesterday, that would then permit them to have virtual meetings with no end date, so I think they began meeting without that, but they do have a hearing. A law, it looks like it's going through the works that's going to allow them to have virtual meetings indefinitely, which may make it easier for people to participate, for neighbors to participate, because they are generally in the middle of the day. So see how that goes. But other than that, I don't have anything. And we'll talk next week. I mean, next month. We'll talk about chat next week.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Yes, we'll get into a bigger conversation about that next month. The next would be the safety. Brian, what do you have?
You mean Matt?
Brian Miguel?
Yes. I'm here. You guys there?
Yep, we're here.
Hi. Sorry about that, guys. Yes, I have a few updates. Nothing major, though. National Night Out is moved to October 3rd from August 6th. So I'll probably start getting with the committee probably next month to try to start planning what we're going to do for that still. I've been contacted by a few people for adding lights. After we did our block, I actually did a small portion on Bank Street. I think the 22nd, the 21st, the 2100 block. I think it was like 3 or 4 houses up there that I did last week with a couple people. If anyone's interested in helping, I'd be more than willing to help them. But the as far as all of the work and the effort, I probably won't do all of it. Hold on a second here, my dog's barking. I've had, I think, 6 or 7 more people register their cameras with me to add to our database. So I think we have about 12. So that's an improvement from last month. And there has been an uptick in crime here recently in the last 2 or 3 weeks, it appears. So Liz, you might want to talk on our talk about our safety stroll here Thursday after I'm finished. But I've been, anytime I've found out an incident happened, I've been trying to reach out to the state's attorney's office. They're a little bit slow to respond right now. Obviously, because I guess because of these circumstances. But they have gotten back to me eventually, and they've been reaching out to any of the victims that we've had that I've known about by any means. That whether I see them on Nextdoor or Facebook or Patterson Park's safety page or whatnot. But if you guys know of anyone that's had an issue, please feel free to have them reach out to me, and I'll see what I can do to point them in the right direction to help them with victim services like counseling or keeping track of what's going on with their court cases or whatnot. So that's all I have.
Okay, so like Brian had mentioned that we're going to do a safety walk. Z Cohen has reached out to our community, and we're going to do a socially distant safety walk with just a few members of the community, and Captain Brian Hopkins or Lieutenant Wilson will be there along with Councilman Z Cohen. So does anyone here, I know that they want to know what safety concerns for that meeting. So if there's people on here that have big safety concerns, just very briefly to kind of get into that so that we can have that in the discussion while we're walking on Thursday. Anyone?
Hey, Liz,
Yes.
it's Aaron. Not necessarily safety. I guess it's more safety, but the dirt bikes are back. So I don't know if anybody's seen. We've heard them. I've seen a few racing through when you're trying to go for a walk. So I think if that's something that we could discuss with the officers, kind of what are they doing with the dirt bike crews that are deciding to have a little fun up and around our neighborhoods.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, that's a good one, Aaron.
I just want to double check on this date for the National Night Out. The 3rd of October is a Saturday, is that right? Matt?
Sorry, it's actually October the 6th. I apologize.
Okay, yeah, okay, that makes more sense. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go on to the
I wanted to add the walk on Thursday. I think it could be similar to the walks on Tuesdays, where I know in the past we've asked that a representative from DPW also join to look at issues. On Tuesday, it's around trash because Wednesday's trash day, but Thursday may be a good time to also look at the recycling issues that we have where people are putting things out without lids and things like that. So I know we've asked that DPW come on the walks, and that would really be helpful to educate or at least see what some of the issues are, especially if Thursday is going to be windy, because there's always issues on recycling, not always, but many times issues on recycling day where the recycling's all over the neighborhood, which also leads to crime because it's an issue. So I would just like to recommend if the walks are going to be on Thursday or Tuesday that someone from that department join.
Suzanne, I'm on that. Good suggestion. This is Zeke, by the way.
Great, thank you.
All right, let's get on to the transportation and traffic and parking.
Hey everybody, welcome to my basement lair. It's not quite as picturesque as where Molly is, wherever Molly is right now, or where her head is floating around. But just had a couple quick updates that I wanted to provide, and Brooke kind of stole my thunder a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the parklets. That's a relatively novel concept to me, at least, but definitely an intriguing one and something that might be something that could help some struggling businesses when we start getting back to, seated dining and that kind of thing. But I also don't want to limit the consideration of that to just restaurants. I think it might be something that we could look at for other portions of our right of way. So if anybody has any suggestions for something like that or wants any more information, or if anyone out there has a business that they would like to pursue this further and want some more information from us, please let me know and we can provide some of that information. I'll put a link in the chat box with a pretty simplistic explanation of what it is and the certain parameters that are go into the consideration for them. And I'll put that in the chat box here. If any businesses out there are looking for something like that, please contact me. And if someone does propose one, we'll bring it to the committee and to the association and see what we all think. I'm sorry.
Is anybody talking about putting seating on the square? In European cities, restaurants all have seating areas on their squares, and the servers come out from the restaurants and serve people on the squares. Is anybody talking about doing that maybe?
Barb, what do you mean by square?
The down at the square, Fells Point.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So like, yeah, the like Broadway Square.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't heard any discussion about the square, but there has, I believe last year was the first year that they did the alfresco nights that were once a month, which seemed to be a pretty big success. So maybe that's something that would be looked into further. This part was just brought to my attention recently, but Brian, do you have anything more to add to that?
Yeah, the thing that Brooke was talking about earlier is basically looking at doing the alfresco night at the square. The biggest issue is really around liquor licenses.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So if anybody, we're a little short on time here, so I can't do too much more discussion on this. But if anybody has any questions, please let me know, or type it in the chat box. I'll provide that. Next thing I wanted to talk about was the an update on the 300 block of South Washington Street, which was the parking space that was taken away by an outlaw neighbor and moved illegally. That permit application has recently been denied by the right-of-ways department, and that was an application for a parking pad. So it is my understanding that that sign will be moved back to its rightful location. But we just need to be patient because DOT is not running at full capacity right now. So once they are, I don't know where that's going to fall in the pecking order or the priorities. But I have been assured that it will be moved back to where it was before it was moved illegally. So just a little patience on that. And then my last item was over the weekend. There was a pretty horrific accident at the corner of Wolf and Bank. Accident might actually not be the right word for it because this almost seemed to be intentional, a road rage incident. But it really just served as a reminder that we need to seriously look into some more traffic calming along Wolf Street and perhaps Washington Street as well. The light has been great. It really has reduced the side angle crashes and everything. But I don't think that we should just rest on that. I think we should start looking into greater measures and something like what happened over the weekend is not just a reminder of that, but it certainly has gotten on the radar of our councilmen, and we need to just run it up further. So I don't really have anything to report on there. And if you have any questions, I can't really answer them right now. This is all very, very early stages. But I just wanted to let you all know that we are going to be looking. And that's all I have.
Okay, so thank you, Ed, for the update. And the next person is Zeke Cohen is here to give us some updates.
All right. Thank you. It is really, really good to see a lot of you, however, virtually. On that note, please, please, please continue to social distance. And when you're outside, when you're going around, try to wear a mask, especially if you go in. I mean, it's illegal to not do it if you're in a store. But today we had 1,784 new cases of coronavirus. That's the single most we've had. This is in the state of Maryland. And so I know that at least I'm feeling a sense of people really wanting to be back outside and sort of resume normalcy, but we just aren't there yet. And so I'm asking and I'm pleading everyone to continue to really, really try to push for social distancing, to not do the things that we did pre-corona, because we're just simply not there yet. A couple of things I wanted to share really quickly. One is the Baltimore Neighbors Network. So this was an idea that formed between myself, the Mental Health Association of Maryland, Pro Bono Counseling Services, the Community Mediation Center, and a number of other groups. And the idea was, in any pandemic, in addition to the physical devastation that we're seeing, you also see mental health devastation. There's guy at Bloomberg, this guy, George Everly, he's a psychologist, and he says that the mental health effects of a pandemic can be up to 100 times more debilitating than the physical impacts, right? We see a rise in child abuse, in neglect, in depression, anxiety, loneliness, isolation, and particularly for our seniors who are in many ways most vulnerable to the worst health outcomes. They themselves are being asked to do the most social distancing and isolation. And so the idea we came up with, this was sort of right after the coronavirus started to rear its head in Baltimore, right after we'd passed some legislation on reducing trauma, was to create a network of neighbors where we make 15-minute phone calls to seniors. We check in with them. We bring love, comfort, social solidarity. We seek to build relationships. And through the call, we assess how they're doing. And if they're doing well, then that's great. We invite them to join the network and it sort of self-sufficiently grows. But if not, we direct connect them to a clinician through the Pro Bono Counseling Project. So they're able to get free teletherapy. And if they're really in crisis, we get them connected to the crisis response line. But the idea is that it's a totally hermetically sealed, safe network of neighbors who are looking out for each other and our seniors. It's grown really, really, really quickly. We've had, in about 7 weeks, 400 people sign up to volunteer. We've made over 4,000 calls. It's gotten like some love from all the way out in Sao Paulo, Brazil, where they're trying to create their own Sao Paulo neighbors network. But if folks are feeling kind of caged up and like you want to be able to check in on people without putting yourself or them in danger by physically going there, please consider joining the Baltimore Neighbors Network. It's baltimoreneighborsnetwork.org. Brian Seal, please put it in the chat. I know you're handy with these Zoom and WebEx meeting things. But baltimoreneighborsnetwork.org is the website, and there's a nice Sun article about it. Really quickly, I know folks had spoken a little bit earlier, Molly, about Wolf Street. We know that a lot of our kids are struggling right now because school has been out, and many of our children in Baltimore either don't have access to the internet or to a digital device. And so the digital divide is really deep in our city. 30% of families pre-COVID didn't have access to the internet. We're one of the worst in America at internet accessibility. So about a week and a half ago, I introduced and we fast-tracked a bill to take $3 million from the Children and Youth Fund and use it to help close the digital divide by buying Chromebooks and, in some cases, internet access for children across Baltimore. The school system has been out there delivering them. There's been all these different efforts to stand up what are called mesh networks, which is where you take existing internet broadband from schools or libraries and you bang it out into a neighborhood. But this issue of making sure our kids have access to online is really important because the reality is school is not going to be back in any sort of normal sense anytime soon. Even in the fall and probably winter of next year, if school is back at all physically, it's probably going to be either 1 day a week or children in staggered groups going in and out. This thing is not leaving us anytime soon. And so we're continuing to work on that digital divide. Like Liz and Matt had mentioned, we have a safety walk, a social distancing safety walk this Thursday. Captain Hopkins is going to be with us, and Suzanne made a great point about bringing DPW, because I know that the recycling bins and the wind and everything else. One thing I'd like to continue to work on with Upper Fells as we start to get into our public safety task force is the block captain program. which has been really successful in Canton and some other places. And I think that Upper Fells could really leverage this. And I know Matt's done a lot with light and starting to get the cameras online as well. But obviously want to continue to push for safety. Molly asked, how can we help with the digital divide? If you want to donate, the Fund for Educational Excellence is who is collecting both money and devices. If you've got a refurbished device or a device that you can donate and then have them refurbish, please go to the Fund for Educational Excellence. They get it right to the school system. Finally, the mention of further traffic calming for Wolf Street. We know there was that bad crash where, like you said, road rage, 2 cars essentially having a street race down a residential street. But we know that, and Janelle, reminded me that the stoplight, the traffic light, while a good short-term intervention and something that we feel proud of in stopping the horrific everyday crash corner incidents we were having, is still not enough. And that if we're really going to make this a livable, walkable, complete further, and we need to continue to push DPW, and we need to be creative and innovative. And so what I'm going to ask of you all is we do some internal work within the neighborhood association, try to figure out what we want, what the ask is, and then I will bring DPW back out there. We haven't been out there in a little while, and just show them the situation, have Brian and Kurt and Liz and everybody else come back out, and just make sure that we press forward. Because I think that whole Wolf, Washington, that should be one of our premier walkable corridors for families, for everybody. So let's make sure we actually do it. And if it's about a bike lane, Ollie, then let's do that. But I just want to see some consensus and thoughts around what sorts of treatments we would like to see. I know Brian leads a lot of that work and is now working at DOT, and is a really great partner for you all and for us as well. But that's what I got. Final point. Someone mentioned tables outdoors in Fells Point, the Broadway Square thing. So that's definitely a conversation that folks are having. Delegate Learman is very much in the mix. Also, you've probably seen in the news, Little Italy is pining to get back open. It's a tricky situation because on the one hand, yes, we absolutely need to support our small businesses and our restaurants. On the other hand, I'll be honest, I think Mayor Young made the right call, although I didn't love the words that he chose to do it, in saying we're just not ready to open yet. Again, we're not at a place where we have enough testing, we have enough contact tracing, and so we can't conscionably open stuff up. But when we do, I want to really think strategically and creatively about how we could do things like open up Broadway Square for outdoor seating for restaurants, and make our neighborhoods, again, really welcoming for people and less so for cars and motorcycles. So I think we're at the beginning stages of those conversations. I don't think we're there yet tomorrow or in a week, but I think now is the time to start to plan on what it could look like to open up with more outdoor engagement and activity once we reach the next phase of this virus.
Thanks for logging on, Zeke. Thanks a lot.
Good to see you.
Good seeing you. Okay, so that's it for this evening. Next week, we're going to get into more of a discussion about the newsletter. and about how we want to handle that. So if everybody can start thinking about that, and also about the CHAP district. So it is, and a discussion about how and if we would want to move forward in looking into Fells Point becoming a CHAP district, Upper Fells Point. And I guess then that's the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Good meeting. Thanks,
Thank you.
Liz.
Great
Well done.
meeting.
Thanks.
Good job.
Nice.